Did you say slow motion? Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, and today I wanted to give it a try with my Leica Q2 for some Slo-mo Extravaganza. And so I tried to have a look at the settings and I realized that 4K it is only capable of shooting 24 frames per second, 25 or eventually 30, which is not even close to be slow-mo. And so I went ahead and kept looking at the settings and I saw that we have a few valuable options at HD or Full HD. So 1080p, this camera is able to shoot up to 120 frames per second with assist autofocus and then manual focusing up to 150 or 180 frames per second, which is more than enough to have some fun slow motion. And so I started going around and having a look if I could find interesting subjects like animals, wildlife, so on and so forth. And then again, I realized I can only crop down to 75mm, which is not even barely enough if you want to shoot some wildlife, birds or whatever at a distance. And so I also converted to macro mode and tried to catch and latch onto some animals. And so the end results were quite funny, and I do understand why people need the alien technology from Sony, because if you want to have fun with some slow-mo, then you need the AF tracking so you are not missing anything. Anyway, it was fun to give it a try. Let's see together a few examples, because I tried to some static subjects such as a flag. I tried with birds, I tried with ladybugs, I tried with squirrels, and I realized that the focus peaking is not helping at all, because you don't really see the borders of the animals, so you won't really get if it's blurred or in full focus. And then I realized that the automatic AF, which is a box, it's still based on contrast, but on this camera you will see a lot of lens breathing, and so in the very end I decided to go with manual focusing. But even for slow moving subjects such as insects, they're still moving too fast, and so it's not so easy to take track of them and to keep them in full focus. Let's see the end result and then we can draw the conclusions together. So this camera is capable of doing great things, and I thought I knew it very well, and so it is for photography. But when it comes down to video, well, I've been using it for the past year or two just for shooting headshots like this, while when I'm out there I just leave it on the tripod, and I'm starting right now to have some fun with slow-mo, but there are still a learning curve and probably this is not the best tool to help me with slow motion. So I will be looking into alternative cameras such as my phone, which I'm now using as a remote, as you can see, and is capable of shooting up to 960 frames per second, despite the sensor is also tiny. This point, of course, is not full frame. It doesn't have the Leica color science, but it might help here and there. And I'm using it at the moment when I have to shoot like macro close-up for products. So I'm having right now the good Leica Q2, which I'm using right now to record this episode. I'm having the phone for macro, for stills, for some slow-mo, and then I also have my DJI action cam to put on top of the camera when I want to have POV videos and many other things. So I think I'm covered. I'm not hunting for new gear yet, but I'm hunting for more experience, because I want to use this Leica Q2 to the very full of its capabilities before switching to the Q3, if I will ever switch to the Q3. Please remember that right now the Q3 is better than the Q2 in all of the aspects than one. It is freezing, so if you missed that episode, we discussed it already, find it up here. But apart from that, guys, I was not yet available to give it a try with the Q3, and this is why I keep exploring my Q2, which keeps being a perfect EDC even in 2023. So if you're ready, let's go rolling and let's see a few examples. So yeah, here I tried with 1080p, and the thing is that I realized that since we have been shooting 4K for so much time, for how long I've been shooting 4K, probably 1 year, couple of years, 3 years, I don't remember, 1080p now with my eye it doesn't look so appealing. It looks like I'm missing details. So with the macro lens, it was good enough and it was quite stable. I have to say that this lens is great for macro shooting, and I'm not complaining at all. So here we're enjoying some macro. As you can see, we have the famous 3D pop despite some lens breathing, and then the colors are good. I just can't keep track of this bee quite well, because if I'm using the autofocusing aid, then you see we have a bit of lens breathing. Moving on for a different aspect, as you can see, we can try to have it go. You see it comparing this bee to the people moving at distance. You see the slow motion, and we can eventually have it even a bit slower with post-production here. So I imported also the 1080p shooting into a 4K timeline, so this is why it might look a bit jittery, but I don't think it's a bad end result in the end. Manual focusing will definitely help a lot. Here are some slow-mo of static elements, and so we are still having a lot of lens breathing, as you can see. I just need to stay stable, and then once you hit autofocus, then you need to keep it down, otherwise you will see it's always hunting and always in the middle of the frame. Moving on now to macro with ladybug. Here I'm trying to block its passage so it will come back on a profile, and I'm following it, and we have a shallow depth of field, and so I was able to track it, but eventually it's now going away. Let's come down to a squirrel now, because I saw this guy was stealing some nuts in the backyard, and I had my camera at hand, fortunately, and it's still quite shaky because I didn't want to scare him, and I am using now the crop at 75mm, which is quite enough for this slow distance that we're having here. But as you can see, at 1080p the end result is still not so stable, because the lens is trying to focus and it's trying to have contrasty, and when it latches it, well, even if it's latched right now, it's still hunting for focus. And so I tried to move it to manual focusing right now. So I'm hunting with manual focus, but this is so frantic. As you can see, 4K helps a lot. I'm in manual focus here, so I was able to have this animal in full focus, and it's a bit jittery because it's not the real slow-mo I'm applying it in iMovie, but the end result is not so bad. So guys, I really do understand why Sony is having this success for movie, for still. For stills, still is not comparable. For stills, I still prefer Leica or a rangefinder, but for movies and for videos and for slow-mo, I do understand why the alien technology from Sony is helping a lot, and hence its success with the FX3 with the newly released Alpha 6700. So with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on your social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.